Hey, what's up, party people? Welcome to the honest trailer commentary for Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider 2, aka The Spirit of Vengeance. It's just me and Lon today. We're going to talk about all of our most in-depth, complicated, nuanced Ghost Rider thoughts, and then we're going to dive into some deleted scenes, and we'll take your comments and questions, so keep those coming in the chat, and then we'll tease you with next week's honest trailer. Although since I haven't decided which one it's going to be, maybe it'll be a double tease, and I'll screw both of them up, and then end up just telling you what it's going to be. Or maybe we can decide as a group. That could be fun.
Maybe. Well, there's one that I don't think is available to view yet. I was really eager. There's one of the two that we're deciding between that I have not seen pop up in our drive. And I did not see this movie on its initial run, so I'm very over eager to see it now.
That would make things easier if one of them's not out, but we'll get there at the end. That's what keeps you watching.
Today. I believe it is now out.
And Ryan's actually reminded me next week we've actually totally done. And
it's very specific choice for next week, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. It's so confusing with this show because it's like this is when I'm really working on like the next week's one, and then I have to be like, okay, Ghost Rider, what happened?
By the time because we're writing them, so they edit them, and all the other people who make the trailer take over at some point.
Here's what I remember about my ghost riding experience, ghost riding the whip. I had fun. I liked them. I had a good time.
The first one, you're gonna come forward.
No, the first one is just terrible, but in like a goofy. It's a cute, fun, bad movie. It's like all the bad parts of Spider-Man 3 strung together. I'd say the tone is like cartoonish. Yeah, it's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's very campy.
It's what before every movie was a comic book movie, and before that was just the big genre. There was a feeling that Hollywood had of like almost shame. Like, this is a comic book. We gotta okay, it's gonna be really crazy and goofy, and there's gonna be lots of unbelievable stuff in it. So we've got to let the audience know that we know this is dumb and childish, and kind of neg the movie's origin right from the start. And that first Ghost Rider is definitely made, I think, in that spirit of the movie almost feels it's the same guy, Mark Steven Johnson, who did Daredevil.
Yeah.
And they both have this feeling of they kind of feel bad about their origins, and they're apologizing for it in the movie.
Yeah, and there's a lot of winking to the camera and be like, my skull feels like it's on fire, which is like sub Whedonese. Although there is lots of Joss Whedon stuff of he literally says, well, that just happened to the camera.
It's from that era before before that trope had become well known, when people were still just I'm going to do that's happened. Not even a meta thing or whatever. It's just oh, but, no, you didn't.
Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, I think, is a fun, even on its own terms, balls out, insane action movie with Ghost Rider in it. It could be better. Given that these guys made the Cranks, it could have been.
It's not as good as.
It's not as good as a Crank. You could definitely crank one out before you see Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, 1 or 2. But I do want to live in the world where Spirit of Vengeance. Punisher Warzone, throw Dread in there, that became the template for comic book movies. I think it fits in with those. Not Dread is pushing it, but I think it's kind of Blade way pushing it. This is like a D-level Blade, but it's in the same conversation and tone.
There was this moment, I think I've talked about this before. There was this moment in the late 90s, early aughts, where it's comic book movies could kind of go one of two ways. There's the really impressionistic, crazy ones where they kind of mash up the comic book world and a movie world and create something weird and new. And it's almost even the Raimi Spider-Mans are kind of in that vibe. And then there's the smooth out all the rough edges and make it palatable, a mainstream action tentpole movie, the MCU and the Singer X-Men franchise, and that kind of became the standard. So
then it became the third strand of the Nolan of it all, and it's no, these are actually for adults and not children. These are grown-up philosophical ponderous things.
And I feel every once in a while we get a comic book movie that is made in that impressionistic style. Most recently, I feel it was Venom: Let There Be Carnage, where I liked it. It's just it doesn't feel like a Venom comic book. It doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It's just its own weird, crazy thing that doesn't bother to like have a realistic world. And I thought it was fun. But I think if you prefer the, MCU house style, this kind of violates that.
Yeah.
And Spirit of Vengeance doesn't feel like it's that kind of serious treatment of the character.
Like we said, for Spirit of Vengeance, it doesn't reach like full crank levels, but you can see the potential of these directors. Plus, if they had really taken the brakes off of Nick Cage, that you would have had, I think, a great movie on your hands. The seeds of a really great action comic book movie are in this film, but they're not fully blossomed.
And they are letting Cage go even bigger than he was going in the first Ghost Rider. Like, we are approaching that real operatic, peak Cage in this. There are a few moments where he really gets to that Cage level that you want to see when you're watching a Nick Cage action comic book movie.
Totally. So
that's when you want to take the blocks off.
John Bainbridge asks, what superhero should Cage do next? I think he should just still be Ghost Rider. I think that the potential is there, and people would love it. Like, who wouldn't like to see him roll back in a climactic scene? You can even keep him on Disney Plus. He doesn't have to be in the next Avengers movie, but he'd be a great new street level hero. And I don't know, he looks the same to me. Still got the same energy. I think he could totally step into the boots and jacket once again.
I would love to see him as like a villain. I feel like he's like in the perfect place to play like one of these big iconic like comic book movie villains. Like the MCU needs its Victor Von Doom, and like I don't think you could do any better.
Cage can play Doom. No, really?
Sounds amazing to me.
Yeah. Just sipping a martini glass full of jelly beans.
There you go.
That's his one requirement.
I mean, or just let him do Superman. It's finally time. Cavill's done. Now is the moment.
Yeah, now's the time. All right.
Powered by Earth's yellow sun. He could be a little older. He'd still be super strong. It's not like Superman ages out.
All right, now's the time for us to watch Ghost Rider 1 and 2, because we'll have so much more to say as we stop and start. Let's roll it.
From Marvel, back in their try-hard phase, the filmmaker responsible for some of the best bad moments in superhero cinema. The guys who cranked out some of the dumbest fun movies.
I'd just like to say, if somebody can dig this up, I hope it still lives somewhere on the internet. If not, I might have a copy
believe
somewhere.
It does.
Okay, of Lon and I reenacting the Daredevil playground scene? Okay.
I think it is still out there somewhere.
Okay, good. That and the Catwoman basketball scene. I feel like the pandemic has really hindered our on-screen chemistry.
Yeah, really.
We have them somewhere.
We had a little running. We were doing more of like honest recreations for a moment there. It was a little labor intensive for the actual output.
Let us know in the chat what we should cap, but let's just say a trifecta, what we should cap off.
Right. I think honest action is what we were calling those.
Well, there's honest action was a different thing. I think it was just honest scene.
Honest scene, yeah, where it would be like Spencer and I recreate great moments from,
without all those fancy movies. Cuts and editing and costumes.
What was the other one? Catwoman, right?
The Catwoman basketball scene.
Yeah, the Catwoman basketball scene, the Daredevil playground scene. We could use one more. Once we're reunited post-pandemic, we should do one more.
Yeah, let us know. All right, keep playing.
Movies, since they cranked out both cranks. And the screenwriting equivalent of herpes comes two films that feel like going on a 48-hour coke bender with Nick Cage. And by that I mean they're a bad idea, but still pretty fun.
The angel. I can feel him.
Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Only one man is uniquely...
the cosmology here, very confusing. In the second one. The first one... Okay, it's basically
they don't really get into
rules. It's like the devil tricked him into signing this deal, and now he's got to like do jobs for the devil. Okay, fair enough. I can dig that. The second one is like changes the origin. We retcon the Peter Fonda devil in favor of the Kieran Hines devil. But then it adds this whole like origin story for the Ghost Rider, where he was an angel that they took to hell, and being in hell made him
angel.
An angel went crazy, which is a weird. That's already just like, wait, angels have like brains that can go crazy. Like, why would that be? But yeah, like that. Then so it's like So the devil is just like partnered with this other demon that went crazy. Like, wait, hang on. And it never really unpacks it.
And then the power of the crazy angel goes to the little boy who's the half son of Satan.
And there's so much with children. Satan's constantly knocking ladies up and having these kids all over the place. It's very messy.
Satan is a deadbeat dad in this universe. And then he like gives him his power and then chooses to barf it back into Nick Cage at the end instead of using we'll get to this.
Weird. It's so weird. And like never like why make it complicated at all? Why not just make it like I need that boy. I'm the devil. Okay, let's go. That's it. That's all you
No follow-up questions. All right, keep playing.
One man is uniquely qualified to be the Ghost Rider, Nick Cage. Cause this actor's already been an outcast who melts his face off like a wicker man. Trapped between worlds, this army of one will drive angry, seeking justice when it gets dark. He'll kick ass with his kill chains as a prisoner of the Ghostland. Cause this Lord of War is running with the devil and he's got a score to settle. Holy crap, he makes a lot of movies. It's almost inconceivable. What a pig. Or a national treasure, depending on how you look at it.
Pause. Up with John. Props to our editor Kevin, who had that idea to intercut this section with his actual films. And then a question from Evan J. Pretzer. Lord of War is in the movie montage. You guys saying that it's a bad movie? I think it's quite good and intelligent. No, we got Pig in there, National Treasure, Face Off. Like
there's lots of movies, and we were just saying he makes a lot of movies. Not that they're all bad. I don't.
Yeah. Saying you could construct paragraphs about his films using only the titles from his other films is the only point there.
It's also nice. We could sort of tease Nick Cage for making all of these direct-to-video titles safely because it was just for the money. We know it was just for the money. He went broke and he needed some cash. It's not like it, we're gonna in 3 years we're gonna hear news that's gonna be like, oh, we shouldn't have made money.
Yeah, those dinosaur skulls don't pay for themselves.
Right.
Especially when they're
honestly. Some of them aren't so bad. These direct to VOD Nicolas Cage films. I've seen a few that I think hold up all right.
Yeah, he doesn't usually doesn't hold back. I wanted to see that one about him, like as the animal trainer with the tiger on the boat.
Primal. I think that one wasn't. That one.
Nah, it's a shame.
Hot. That one.
Yeah, well.
So hot.
All right, let's keep going.
You're up with Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider 1. He's a stuntman who's more hot rod than Evel Knievel.
Love hot rod.
But when his dad has a light cough, aka movie speak for dying of cancer, he'll make a deal with the devil to prolong his life for about one afternoon. Stricken with grief, teenage Johnny will ghost his sweetheart, leaving her to grow into a reporter with a 10-year age difference, and now must become the Ghost Rider, a demon with the powers of riding a motorcycle, which she could already do, and scaring people to death with eye contact, which again, Nick Cage could already do.
Pause. Again, like just of its era is like Ghost Rider gets his powers nebulous as they are, and they're like, how do we show that he's like still a superhero? And as soon as he gets his powers, he's like, I hear a mugging. I'm gonna go stop a mugging. And like runs over to save Rebel Wilson from getting held up, in a back alley. Because I think some executive is like, it's a superhero. He needs to go save a girl from a crook.
There was a while there where every big superhero movie, it felt like that was like they had to work in contractually. There had to be like a scene where they like stop whatever the plot of the movie is to like stop street crime, where it was like, that's what people expect, like that. Yeah. It was still like, it was a genre with like expectations. It was like, this is what these movies are. It's like an alley, and then they're getting mugged, and then the hero swoops in and is like, stop it, you, and like takes it, like.
But it's such a standout in this one because like it's never assumed that he's gonna go fight crime, or like it'd be like a street level patrolman
he literally works for the devil.
He works for the devil, but he eventually says that at the very end of the first one that he's going to use the powers that the devil gave him to fight the devil, without considering that the devil could just remove the powers. Hey, Taco. Yeah, it
doesn't make that stuff doesn't really make any sense, and it's weird because the first movie leads so clearly into what they were thinking the sequel would be, which is now Ghost Rider is going to become like a savior of humanity using his devil powers to fight the devil.
But his devil powers are like sending evil people to hell, which you'd think would only help the devil.
Yeah, it's hard to see how that would work. But they set that up. And then the next movie not only doesn't really do that at all, but like really retcons the whole thing. It's like, no, he's back to hating being the Ghost Rider and he's desperate to get rid of it, not like he's keeping the powers on.
Yeah, they turn him into the Hulk in the second one. He's just like on the run from his own flaming head. Eva Mendes, never to be spoken of again, who has a very thankless, also like the stock female character in an early 2000s comic book movie is just to like stand there and look hot and swoon over the hero. Like that is all she gets to do.
It's really not. I mean, the whole art, her whole appearance in Ghost Rider 1 is basically built around like Eva Mendes can't get a date. Like that's the whole, like guys are not into her and she's still hung up on this dude she dated briefly in like high
teenager
school.
Yeah,
and she's just like hapless and like hopeless in love. And it's like, Eva Mendes, that's who you casted for this role? Like that's it's like it's so bizarre because it's like, I mean, she'd probably be doing all right. She's on TV. She's Eva Mendes.
She's a reporter covering stuntmen. I love how popular stunt shows are in the Ghost Rider universe.
Oh yeah,
he's filling an arena.
He's in a like rock band tour. He's in like what Kings of Leon drives around this country in to do like backyard stunt, like hot rod style stunt shows. Yeah, it's weird.
Good for him. All right, keep playing.
Making it work.
Follow up the campy original with an edgelord reboot in Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, where they change his look, supporting cast, and origin story, because just shut up and embrace the chaos, okay? Fire piss!
In
the first one, he made a deal with the devil. Now, in the follow-up, he'll have an even worse idea and make a deal with a priest to bring him a young boy.
Bring us the boy.
In a sequel that abandons all restraint and just gives the people what they want, a skull monster barfing fire bullets into a goon's face. Full of high-octane visuals that almost overcome the moment when the f***ing Ghost Rider scolds you for pirating movies.
You did something you wouldn't want the writer to see. A white lie, an illegal download.
You wouldn't download a crane. Oh, wait, you would.
Pause. First of all, that part's awesome. When he turns, I guess like, and they even make fun of this in the movie, which seems very Marvel, like modern day Marvel of like, well, when you get on an elevator, like, is that what you're riding? Can you turn that? Like, didn't they reuse that in Thor and stuff? Oh, interesting. But
the second one introduces the idea that whatever, any machine or vehicle or whatever, once he's operating it, it gets his like hellish makeover.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I don't think that's got in the final script, but I was very taken with the Rider, very aesthetically focused. Like it's the moment the Rider comes into our world, his first thought is, well, I got to redo my look. I got to like the jacket needs some customization. I got to make the bike look hell. It's got to have a skull on it. He's like very into the brand.
But I figured that happened automatically. Like it just,
it does, but he's the spirit. He's making it happen. He has magic hell powers and is like, hang on. Gotta do the bike upgrade first. Once we'll do the magic bike upgrade, then we'll move on to like fighting evil.
It also just does date it so specifically that it was that moment of complete panic in Hollywood that like music had been, free for a while, right, quote unquote, and like movies were next. And oh boy, did they have to stop people from downloading the movies. They were so freaked out.
It was this moment where it's hard to believe now because like streaming became the thing and like torrenting. Obviously there's still a segment of the internet that's doing it, but there was a panic for a moment that everybody was just going to figure out BitTorrent and ever stop paying for entertainment like ever again.
Yeah. And I know some of you still don't. And hey, you do.
There's a pocket of people out there still doing it. I know that, but it didn't become as dominant as I think Hollywood feared. A lot of people also just got Netflix.
Yeah, but there were was some kind of pop culture stuff like that. There was like the stop all the download message, and then they showed a picture of Jerry Springer, I think, when they were talking about the devil or like the soldiers of the devil.
This was 2011. This was a cultural moment where we were like, that trash television, like Jerry Springer, that garbage.
I only watch Ghost Rider
poisoning our discourse,
Yeah, get him, Ghost Rider.
I guess it was only like Twitter was only 3 or 4 years old at that point. It wasn't old enough to poison our discourse yet, so we were still blaming Jerry Springer.
So cute. Okay, let's keep going.
Speed through 2 early comic book films that would be pretty forgettable if it weren't for the Cage of it all, as Nick brings a grab bag of random quirks to Johnny Blaze, like an Elvis accent that disappears after the first film.
I watch a lot of TV, and you do a really good job.
Only drinking straight from the container.
No time.
Unless it's jelly beans, in which case, martini glass. While off camera, he was bringing the weird by doing his own makeup.
We got to talk about that because it's so specific. Like, if it was one scene, I'd be like, he just was on set and was like, bring me some jelly beans and a martini glass. But it's multiple look. Like, this was in the script. This was part of the plan. This was like around on multiple days. Why? Why?
Look,
it's not a good way.
We know he's sober, right? I don't know about Nick Cage, but we know that the character of Johnny Blaze is
right.
Yeah. And to me, it's like that's the one indulgence he'll allow himself. Like, he's such a focused, principled man who only thinks about his next stunt. So that's the only way he unwinds. Is that and 1930s animation?
Yeah, the guy whose only vice is jelly bean. I'm not even against that. Okay, but it's just if you were always eating jelly beans. A martini glass clearly is the least effective delivery system. Just get a big mason jar full of them.
It's the way it makes you feel. You can't sip a mason jar. I think it'd be easier actually to sip a martini glass full of jelly beans and get the right amount, which is 4 or 5 jelly beans.
It feels like the
mason glass you're getting dumped on.
I feel like a martini glass is the worst possible container for
I think he's on
jelly bean. I don't know. It does shape it just
sound off in the comments. What is the best thing to drink jelly beans?
If you were going to be drinking jelly beans as that's your cocktail, what kind of container would you put your jelly beans in?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Maybe
did you notice, by the way, again, very aesthetically minded, only eats red and yellow colored jelly beans. It's not a rainbow.
That's a Donald Logue's job when he's done polishing the bikes. Just to pick out all the red and yellow ones.
Or Ozzy doesn't go on stage that night.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep playing.
While off camera, he was bringing the weird by doing his own makeup, sewing totems into the lining of his jacket.
And then I would sew in bits of Egyptian artifacts that were thousands of years old into my costume.
And just generally freaking out at all times for our entertainment.
No conscience. Just hunger.
If you want to pull that trigger, do it.
Scraping at the door! Scraping at the door!
That's the best one.
This is why you bring this guy
Pause.
But the Cage.
You can tell this is the character he loves. He wanted to be Johnny Blaze. He was into Ghost Rider. He's one of the driving forces for why this movie happens, because I'm sure Marvel would have, even at this time, would have rather done other characters, but you got a star who really wants to be Johnny Blaze / Ghost Rider, and you go with it. I think that's why I think he's the perfect fit. I wouldn't recast.
No, I don't. Why would you? I mean, I don't.
Pluck him out of that multiverse.
I don't think you need to. I mean, they did. They had a TV.
They have one
Ghost
on
Rider,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a different. Notably, it's the other. I forget the character's name. It's not Johnny Blaze. It's the other guy who becomes Ghost Rider, right?
I believe Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes. Thank you. So you could have both. There's no reason not to have both Ghost Riders.
100%. There was a good question. James Bunt, movie fight, method acting versus nouveau shamanic, which is Nick Cage's self-described acting style.
Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't go with nouveau?
I know, right?
Who's our representative for method acting? Is it Jared Leto? Because in that case, I think everybody's going with Cage.
Yeah. It's kind of a knockout. And Cage has described nouveau shamanic as it's like something he came up with after reading a book that was acting is channeling the same energies and outlet culturally as the shamans did, in pre-industrial times of channeling other spirits and beings. And he makes a lot of sense.
No, I interviewed him about this once for that movie Frozen Ground with John Cusack, and he was saying that on stage we accept bigger than realistic acting. Like we just kind of, in a musical or whatever, you'd be like, oh yeah, well that's not how I would act in this scenario, but I also wouldn't be singing and dancing. I also wouldn't be on a Broadway stage. So I give myself over to it, and it's about the effect that it has, not about the realism. And he's like, why can't that be in cinema too? We just locked into this notion that cinema means realism, and it's like, it doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there you go. Nouveau shamanic wins. It's a knockout. No one will even make a.
I mean, it's about, like, listen, there are actors who use the method style and give, like, if we're putting Daniel Day-Lewis and there will be blood up against him, like, well, now you got a movie fight, But there are a lot of examples of method actors that I think easily are topped by.
Nikolai chimes in. He's channeling his death metal persona, and this basically is a character from like Guar or something like that. He's just, you can totally throw him on stage.
It's a demon biker with a flaming skull head. Of course, yes, that's when you channel your death metal persona.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
But the Cage won't rage alone. There's a whole cast carefully selected by the directors for their authentic Europeanness.
I mean, like, all Europeans, they have an accent, right?
It's over there in the Europe place.
It's the wrong.
Like Idris Elba as Moreau, a French priest so stereotypical. We were gonna make a joke like, "Oh, I love it to drink the wine," but that's more or less his actual dialogue.
Bonjour.
Sam Elliott as the narrator from The Big Lebowski, doing the kind of authentic portrayal of the American West that he stands for. Jane Campion could never. Rebel Wilson? Huh, that's random. A WandaVision fan theory video's worth of Mephistos, played by one actor who has to be in this movie because his deal with the devil was up, and one actor who has to be in this movie for his deal with the devil to get started. Plus, a new metal band's worth of unthreatening pale demon boys. Look out, Ghost Rider, it's Puddle Guy, white dreadlocks, rockabilly Twilight, and the personification of mold. So return to the battle.
I think that's one place where they really, really whiffed and was an area where they could have done something cool is with the various demons who were
well, did you know
hunting him down.
The first movie, because they're doing like the elemental thing, it's sort of this weirdly like reverse Avatar. Like the Fire Nation is the good guy and he's fighting the air guy, the water guy, and the earth guy. I thought that it occurred to me halfway through. It's like if Zuko was the hero of Avatar.
Well, he is in some ways, but I think that and by that I mean the M. Night Shyamalan version.
Right. I mean, like, not that Zuko doesn't end up in a heroic place. I mean, he was the protagonist of that.
Yeah. They really were not ready to do that visually. The Puddle Man is particularly not scary. He's just wet.
I will distinguish again between 1 and 2. Like the bad guys in 1 look real rough. Yeah. Mold guy in 2, they kind of pull it off. Like,
Mold guy kind of pulls up, but they did some weird thing where, like,
things in 2, I thought.
Like they picked a character from the comics, Blackout, who can, as his name implies, black out the area around you, and kept that power set, but added on mold. They added on. Yeah. He can also mold decay. Things he touches. Yeah. So if you're just gonna create something new, or I don't know, it seemed like trying to have it both ways and whiffing on both.
I mean, at this point, I feel like if you were doing an MCU Ghost Rider, like it's gonna join the rest of the universe, you'd want to put authentic comic book bad guys in there to bring that side of the comics to the MCU. But in this, it's a one-off anyway. Like, who cares? Just make up a villain that suits your movie.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
To the bad old times of 2000s comic book movies, before Iron Man made them cool, and Nolan prestiged the out of everything. Even though real fans know these are some of the most true to comics films ever made. Not because they're accurate, because they're loud, fun, and barely make sense. Comics are mostly dumb. That's why we love them.
My name is Legion, for we are many.
All right.
Starring Daredevil. What? It makes more sense for him than a blind lawyer. Blazing
And he made a deal with the devil.
Girls Want Eva. Logang. Soul Man. Demonic and Knuckles. The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. With him. Hellboy. Decay Hole, Damnable Door, Prayed In, and the least realistic part in a
Pause.
movie
I feel
with
like Prayden really did not get enough to do. I love it's not David Carradine. He was the first
Christopher Lambert.
Yeah. You cast him as like the leader of a secretive order of monks, and like all he does is get wrecked by Mold Guy.
I figured he was gonna be revealed as like he's the true villain. Like if you bring in a guy with that level of genre prestige, I'm assuming it's because there's some third act surprise. So imagine my disappointment.
Your double surprise.
There is not at all.
The surprise is there's no surprise. He's just a monk.
Murked right away. Yeah.
And he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a shame.
No lightning powers or any, it doesn't do nothing.
Yeah.
There can be more than one, apparently.
All right, keep going.
Flaming Skull Demon Biker.
I think I should walk you to your car.
You're pretty and all, but why don't you just go back to wherever it is you came from?
You think I'm pretty, right?
Just constant rejection for Eva Mendes.
Spawn in 60 seconds.
Star reporter.
Okay, why does Roxanne bring a magic 8-ball on a date?
Yeah.
Will I be in the sequel?
She might be insane.
Not good.
That might be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only reasonable conclusion.
Because it's not a big purse that she has.
No. That's a weird affectation.
A full 2/3 of it are taken up by a magic 8-ball.
We all know a gal who brings an 8-ball around with her wherever she goes, you know. Just her quirky thing, you know. It's a good conversation piece.
That's a huge quirk.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's like a Garden State Natalie Portman level quirk. Like they're on the scooter and she's taking out her 8-ball.
She's playing ukulele.
Should I play more shins?
Yeah.
Signs point to yes. Okay.
God, we got to rewatch Garden State.
No. Oh, please.
When's that on this trailer?
Oh my God.
All right. Let's see what we deleted from this one.
Starring. That Johnny Blaze is so hot right now. The
So hot
Exposition
right now.
Kid.
Roxanne, you don't have to go on that ghost ride.
Weedris Elba. Priests of No Nation. I'm Drunk. Mila Jovovich. Boss Baby. Hellfast. Ghost Ride, The Chain Whip. American Chopper. Hot Ones. The Unbearable Weight of Total Excrement. Vicious Cycles. Finish him. Scorpion wins. Flawless victory. Fatality. Did you know those were real? Abs. Strangely wet abs.
Yeah, man, he kind of set the template.
Shower, you know.
I guess so, yeah.
He hasn't fully toweled off.
He says he worked out for 5 hours a day for that shot, and he says they're real. Everybody says they're real.
Yeah, I've never looked like that with my shirt off, so you know, more power to him.
I feel like there's a really good Christian version of this movie where he gets his powers and then he just uses them to convert people, because that would be a better way to fight the devil than killing other people.
2 does have that, like he's basically an angel.
Yeah.
So you're right there. I mean, a third one where he's just an angel on earth doing angel things is an easy sequel to write.
Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven, the movie or whatever.
Totally. And so moving on to the question, stuff like Jim One saying, are we today missing comic book movies like Ghost Rider, where you could just go in, have a good time without always having to be caught up on a cinematic universe? I mean, weirdly, you are
entirely like, I think there's still.
I think Aquaman qualifies.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. There's a lot of standalone dark ones, like the Batman I loved, but it's not a good time necessarily, but I really liked it.
And there's also the streaming world is. We're seeing so many more, indie comics or not Marvel DC kind of titles getting adapted. So, even
Invincible.
if the movies or you're not into the MCU and the DCEU, you've got The Boys and you've got Invincible and you've got Umbrella Academy and Lock and Key. And there's so many that you're not sort of tied to just following these big cinematic universes anymore.
Yeah. But Marvel, they're all in. They're all in on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Moon Knight is the rare example of, so far you don't really need to know any other MCU stuff. It's only been one.
Give it time. Yeah, give it
they'll
time.
Figure out a way.
No way that it just ends without any connection to anything else.
Oh, blimey, what were you guys doing that whole Thanos situation? That's crazy.
There you go. Let's see what else we got. Evan J. Pretzer asks, tell us more about what it was like speaking to Nick Cage.
It was brief. I got to chat with him for maybe I think I got 7 or 8 minutes. It was a really fun day though, because I got to talk to him, and then I got to talk to John Cusack, and I got Vanessa Hudgens at the end, and they told me it was Cage and Cusack, so I had a whole bunch of stuff prepared. They did not tell me about Vanessa Hudgens, so I had to just come up with stuff.
What's your nouveau shamanic process?
Right. That movie is Frozen Ground. It's like this serial killer thing. It's loosely based on a true story. So I got to dig into that, the real character. Did you get to meet the real lady and all that stuff? And then I think I filled the rest of the time with Spring Breakers questions. But
nice. Yes.
But no, it was great to meet Cage. Super nice guy. Really appreciated that I had come with thoughtful questions about his acting, and not just what was it like working with X, or the kind of generic junket questions that they usually get. And yeah, he played a little game. He was great. It was exactly what you'd want briefly meeting your movie hero to be like.
That's awesome. James Bunn asks, what other actors should name their acting style like Cage has with nouveau shamanic? What other actor has a super idiosyncratic like Walken could do the pull out method where he just randomly pulls out of sentences.
Well, I like it. Gerard Butler. Let me just throw this out there. Gerard Butler kind of started doing a bunch of different kinds of roles in movies, but I feel like he's really older, grizzled Gerard Butler has become a type, he moves through movies. The Gerard Butler of Den of Thieves and the Gerard Butler of
Den of Thieves
is the same Gerard Butler, what is that? There's 8 elements that go into a grizzled Gerard Butler turn.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people who play themselves or who get typecast as a certain type of character, but he seems to have really locked into this sleazeball.
Right, it's kind of sleazy, but also sort of anti-heroic, but also over it, washed up and totally cynical and bitter, alcoholic, but not a terrible guy. It's all of these shades. It's really interesting to me.
For anyone watching that hasn't seen Den of Thieves, don't walk to your nearest red box. To your nearest red box. I gotta catch up on Cop Shop.
Cop Shop's on Peacock now.
Okay.
If you folks haven't seen it yet, one of my favorite, low budget, zany 2021.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up with this. Pat Magana asks, what's the most random appearance by a future star in a movie like Rebel Wilson in Ghost Rider? I had one recently with that just reminds me. I'm pretty sure I was rewatching Go, and Melissa McCarthy is in Go.
Yes, that's right.
Not a cameo, but she's got a couple scenes.
I think that was one of the first things I saw Timothy Olyphant in. Go.
That would make sense.
He's that questionable drug dealer in that one.
Yeah.
I just watched Battleship because I think it's on HBO Max now, and I threw that on.
Everyone's in Battleship.
Every single background guy with 3 lines, because it's on a battleship, so there's a lot of naval officer number 2, and they're all, it's Jesse Plemons and Rami Malek is in there, and Hamish Linklater sneaks in there. Rihanna was the big, Rihanna and Liam Neeson and Alexander Skarsgård were the stars, but literally everybody in a background role went on to become famous.
That's a contender for worst movie, best cast.
Honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. And one thing I really admired about it is it's not they went to great lengths to actually integrate elements of the Battleship game. The aliens,
you gotta have that.
The alien weapons look like the pegs from the game. And at one point they bring up a grid. And
I know.
Okay.
Their targeting goes down. And they have to shoot via grid.
It's how can you make a Battleship movie better than that? You kind of can't. You kind of can't.
You could ignore that, but hey,
you could ignore it. But why would you? It's so ridiculous.
It's the pegs that they're here to see. The pegs. All right, I think that's enough for today. We'll be back next week, which we do know what we're doing next week. Let's see how to tease this. It might make you twitch, but I think that it's actually a smooth ride down the Amazon River. I don't know. It's hard for me to put these on the spot.
Struggling with this one, but that's okay.
But we'll see you then when we will reveal the next episode of Honest Trailer Commentaries. Thanks for watching. Talk soon. Bye-bye.